Hello, everyone, and we are back today talking about my program, Push Beyond Silent Suffering in Christian Marriage. And we are on day number 73 of the year. 73 days. What have you been doing with yourself out there on these 73 days of the year? I'm hoping all is well, hoping everyone is well. I'm hoping the challenges of life have not taken you out and that you are still standing. If you're listening to me, that means you're still standing. And so we're continuing our conversation, and I've been literally just talking about what the acronym PUSH means. I spoke about the P for persevering, the U yesterday for unstoppable, and today we're talking about the S. The S is sacrifice, sacrificial love. What does that look like? And so we're looking at all of this in the hopes that somebody out there who has gotten to that place of not wanting to persevere anymore, not wanting to be unstoppable anymore, and not wanting to be sacrificial anymore will actually get in touch with me so that I can help. I get to help. If we were to talk about me as it pertains to marriage, several times it just did not look good. It was rough out there at times. I was persevering, but you can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do. And if I learned anything during those seasons, it was that you cannot really force anyone, and you can pray for them, but if they don't want to participate, you cannot force them to do that. So today I get to utilize everything that I've learned, not just what I've learned on paper from going to school, but what I've learned from life and what I've learned through the journey of marriage is that it is doable. However, it is doable. It is doable. I am married to someone today who makes it very doable by the sacrifices that he's made, and both of us making sacrifices for one another. And today I get to actually talk about what it means in this program called Push, the sacrificial part. And if we were to talk about it, which is what I do, I take that scripture, for God so loved the world that he gave. He gave his only son, gave his only son for you and for me. And that is as sacrificial as you can get. And so when we're dealing with marriage, I do look at the four types of love, right? Phileo, which is brotherly love and compassion. Storge, which is familial, more familial, like the love between a parent and a child. Eros, which sometimes gets a little tricky because people tend to utilize the eros, which is the sexual romantic part of love, thinking that that's the love they're supposed to have in their marriage. But the type of love we're talking about is agape. Agape is sacrificial love, unselfish, intense affection for the other person. That's what agape is. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about sacrificial. And that is what God's intention is when he says, love is patient, love is kind, suffers long, holds no record of wrong. In 1 Corinthians 13, it's pretty laid out exactly what love is. And then in Ephesians chapter 5, talks about the different roles, the role of the husband to love their wife like Christ loved the church, the role of the wife to be submissive. And sometimes those roles get twisted, it gets all turned upside down because of the many, 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 many conflicts that arise. And so today I'm here to talk about the 5 parts of this sacrificial type of love that I get deep into with my clients. Compromising, right? We get to compromise. There is such a thing as compromising. So we're adjusting to make room for the other person. We're adjusting to make room for the needs of our spouse. Come, this requires compromise. And it's not just one time, it's over and over and over to benefit each other. Over and over, compromising. What about selfless? It's a selfless love. It's a pure, unadulterated, putting your partner first ahead of yourself kind of love. And some of you may be listening and thinking she is absolutely crazy out of her mind, but that is what it is. That is what it's supposed to be. And that is the reason why the church is faced now with all of these people thinking they have an option to opt out of their marriage, to divorce their partner for whatever reason it may be. And so I'm here to tell you, it should not be an option. It should not be an option. Sometimes like I told you about myself earlier, you cannot force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. However, when you stick with it, and I watched a couple stick with it. I watched them up close and personal because they were my parents. And I watched them walk through marriage. And I am sure, absolutely positive that it wasn't easy. I'm absolutely positive that there was a lot of compromising going on. I'm absolutely positive that they had to get to that place of selflessness in order to stay married for 46 years before my dad passed away. And, he used to make a statement sometimes, I am going to stay married even if it hurts. And I used to wonder as a young girl, what in the world could that mean? I get it because sometimes it will hurt. Sometimes there will be pain. Sometimes there will be pain that you wonder, should I just walk away from this, And I remember watching my dad over and over and over, my mom would be talking and he would just say, it's as if he's saying, let me take a moment. And I would see him walk out the gate or walk out the door and go somewhere, just walking it off and coming back and saying to my mom, is everything all right? And sometimes I would hear them laughing because neither one of them can remember what they were even so heatedly talking about. So, now I get to impart some of the wisdom that I received just watching my parents glide through the dance of marriage. They waltzed very well. They waltzed physically touching each other, waltzing to music very well, but they also waltzed through marriage very well without stepping on each other's toes to the point of wanting to throw in the towel. And so we talk about selfless, we talk about compromising. What about forgiveness? What would that look like? That amazing tool that we have at our disposal, forgiveness, right? 70 times 7 on a daily basis. Forgiveness, a lot of this is required and eventually leads to patience. Because if you forgive enough times, eventually there's patience. And forgiveness is that you realize nobody is perfect. That perfect, seemingly perfect person that you married some years ago you realize almost immediately, oh, they are not perfect. They are not perfect. Sometimes very, very far from perfect, but yet you chose them as your why. Yesterday I talked about why. Why did you marry that woman? Or why did you say yes to that man? You chose to do that. You chose to do that sometimes in front of a whole bunch of people, but most importantly, in front of God. And so you made a commitment and a covenant with this person, a covenant with this person, and all of the vows in that covenant requires you to stay in that covenant. So, so I get to talk about forgiveness and what it would look like to forgive infidelity, forgive all of the things, just all of the things that you need to forgive. Sometimes we use infidelity as the way out because that's what the Bible gives as the only way out. But there is even forgiveness beyond infidelity. And it looks amazing because I've seen it. I've watched couples come into my office space with that as the ticket out, right? And after a few weeks, I see them starting to move closer to each other, holding hands. And I realize, wow, this is becoming a union. This is becoming a union. And later on down the road, they get to tell it to somebody else so that that person could also realize that forgiveness is a great and amazing tool to keep your marriage together. And then we get to commitment. Initially, we made a commitment. We made a commitment between God and people that this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it until we die. We're going to do it until we die, physically die, not emotionally, not all of the other deaths that can happen, but physically die. And so we get to those places where we wonder, can I take this any longer? Can I take this any longer? And for some people, the option was no, I cannot take this any longer. And you just say, I surrender, I give up, I let it go. I don't want this anymore for my life. But at the end of the day, I also realized from looking at my parents who are now deceased that there was a major commitment made. There was a major commitment made. I heard a lot of laughter in my house, but I'm sure there were times of tears. I am sure there were times of tears and times when somebody wanted to say, I don't like this anymore, but they made a decision. I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. And I remember when my dad was about to pass away, he got pretty sick and my mom was taking care of him. And he would say, once a man, twice a child. He had become like a child again. And there she was taking care of him. And at the end of this journey, he passed away in his sleep with them holding hands with each other. That is how she explained it. They had said their prayers, gone to bed, and when she woke up, he was no longer. And so, what in the world does that look like? And I know I'm talking here, and some people have probably experienced that same experience of losing a spouse, and you understand what that looks like. I stayed committed until the end. And if I'm talking to you and that is you and you're going through the grief of it, realize that you did it. You did it. You did it. You're a champion in this arena called marriage. And so we get to look at you. We get to look at you as our example of staying until death us do part. And so we're committed to staying with the vision that I talked about yesterday. staying with the vision and the plan, regardless of the ups and the downs and the sideways and all the things that happen to make us want to get out of this situation. This is where weathering the storms of life makes a difference in marriage. And I get to utilize all of this in my practice. It doesn't, I am talking about it in a few minutes, but it takes a while. It takes a while. And, you know, I don't get to stay with people forever and ever. I don't get to go home with anyone, but I do get to implement all of the things that God has downloaded into me. Getting a little emotional today. That God has downloaded into me so that I can impart it to you, and you can get to that place in your marriage where you stay until death you part. So that is the sacrifice of this. So we've talked about the persevering, we've talked about the unstoppable, and today we talked about the sacrificial applications that you have to put in, right? You have to sacrifice on a daily basis, all the time. It never stops. It never stops. And the thing is, if you make the decision to sacrifice, if you make the decision to do this, God will bless the rest of your marriage. He will bless your marriage. He wants to bless your marriage. I'm telling you today that he wants to bless your marriage. And I get excited. I get excited when I see people walk away, holding hands, making a decision. We're going to stand. We're going to stand. Whatever it takes, we're going to stand. And so I want to stand with you. I want to stand with you. If this is you and you need my help, reach out for my help. Out for my help, and I will be so happy to assist you through the rest of the journey of this lifelong commitment called marriage. God feels so special about it that he calls the church his bride, right? He's so in tune with marriage that he calls the church his bride. So today, I want to offer my services again, whether it be as a coach or a counselor. I am here to help you. Just click the links, whichever one you want, whether you just want a phone call or you would like to see me on a virtual space on a free 30-minute consultation. Whichever one you choose is the one I show up for. So thank you again for coming on this day number 73 of 365 Live, so we could talk about the sacrificial love that is required for marriage. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.